Press the bell icon on YouTube and don't miss another update.
In what seems like a fresh threat, President of the United States Donald Trump on Tuesday tweeted that India had a field day imposing higher tariffs on American products, and this would no longer be acceptable. Well, interestingly, this comes barely 10 days after President Trump met with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Osaka, which seemed like a fairly pleasant meeting. And this also comes before trade talks that are due between the two countries. So what does this mean? Where is this going to lead? And how do both India and the United States sort the thorny equation that they have right now? That's what we're going to look at in Government Matters today with me, Ruhi Tiwari. In the studio with me today, I have Noinima Basu, who tracks external affairs for us and of course is the best person to give us an understanding of what really is happening between the two countries. Noinima, how do you read President Trump's tweet, considering it came after a meeting with the Prime Minister barely less than 2 weeks ago, in fact?
Well, yes, you're right, Ruhi. The tweet came all on a sudden, especially at a time when US, we saw that the American press is mostly discussing whatever issues they are having on the UK ambassador there. But, well, this only shows the kind of, rush that US has in sorting out trade issues with India. This has been going on for a very long time, ever since President Trump came in. Historically also we've seen that trade has always been a thorny issue between US and India. However, we've always sorted issues out with negotiations and talks, but this government, the Trump administration especially, is very keen on having a free trade agreement with India, which India is not that keen. Also, we need to understand that the American government this time is desperate to have market access in the Indian market for its agricultural produce and the medical devices.
Right. So can you explain the genesis of the current issue? Because, we know that India imposed retaliatory tariffs on 28 American goods. But what really happened? What prompted India to do it? Just to explain it to our viewers.
Well, it started, the trade issues anywhere were started ever since President Trump came in, and he started talking about having trade deficits with some of the partner trading countries. So his first target was China, with which it has a huge trade deficit. Compared to that, with India, it is just nominal. It is like about $24 billion. Right. However, the tiff that we are seeing right now, it got accentuated last year when, the Trump administration started imposing tariffs on Indian aluminum and steel products, right, saying that they are doing it for national interest. Right. Now, India had convinced America again and again that, these are barely, any kind of, they don't really contribute to that kind of trade deficit, and you should, give waiver to India in terms of,
so basically it withdrew the preferential access.
That's on the steel and aluminum,
right,
but then
right,
the preferential access started, the generalized system of preferences, which is the GSP program. That has been also going on since last year when this steel and aluminum thing happened. Then American administration said that yes, we will be withdrawing GSP from you. India said that, this is not the way you address trade concerns, but that has been going on. However, we've seen that finally from May onwards, GSP was withdrawn, and India also last month gave retaliatory tariffs on 28 American products, right, which might sound very nominal, but it impacts American farmers because we've put tariffs as high as 70% on various products, starting from apples, almonds, walnuts and other things.
Right. So now tell me one thing, Noinima, President Trump and Prime Minister Modi met in Osaka around 12 days ago, or little around that time. And that meeting seemed to have gone off surprisingly well, because just before that meeting, President Trump had put out another threatening tweet. But that there seemed to be bonhomie in the meeting. So what we understand is that also trade was discussed at length. How do you read that meeting in the light of the tweet that came out yesterday?
Well, the meeting happened, it was a fruitful meeting, so to say. However, the issues remain where they are, which is why the tweet started. And we've seen how President Trump is always in a lot of hurry to sort these issues.
Through Twitter.
So yes, it does not come as a surprise to the Indian government. At the same time, Talks are on and talks are expected to intensify. We are going to see tomorrow a USTR delegation is coming. that will basically pave the way for Minister of Commerce Piyush Goyal going to DC and meeting USTR Robert Lighthizer. Now, that will be probably the turning point where we might see some kind of solution coming between these two countries.
So, how does the tweet, which had a fairly threatening tone, affect the meeting due tomorrow between Indian representatives and USTR?
I don't think the tweet affects, but then definitely it puts a lot more pressure on these two negotiating teams, what they want to do, because you negotiate something at the official level. However, when it goes to your leader, the leader wants something else. So there'll be a lot of back and forth, and we'll see how the trade negotiation goes. But definitely what was agreed on the sidelines of the G20 summit was that more intensive talks between both countries have to happen as far as trade is concerned.
Any broad picture about what to expect from Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal's visit to DC, as you mentioned, later this month?
Well, to begin with, I think US is going to definitely talk about having more market access for its agricultural products, dairy products, and medical devices. That's like their, the first point of demand of theirs. Then eventually maybe they'll also try and convince India to have a free trade agreement, which if India agrees to have, will be a very long drawn process, because we've seen how the present Modi government, even in its second tenure, not really open to free trade agreements, right. And they are reviewing all the ones that we already have.
Right.
So maybe we'll have some trade arrangement. We'll see how that pans, because this will be the first meeting between the new Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal and Robert Lighthizer.
Right.
And all this probably will come to a point when we are also expecting President Trump to come to India by the end of this year.
Right.
Maybe at that time things will be sorted out. We also have the 2+2 coming up.
Correct.
Although that's more on defense and strategic, but trade is also a part of it now.
Right. So, Noyanima, US President Donald Trump has been putting out these provocative tweets, as we've talked about, and the Indian side has had to show restraint, not responding on Twitter, not making any controversial statements in retaliation. You've covered MEA for so long, which is the Ministry of External Affairs. What is the talk in the corridors? What's the buzz among bureaucrats? I mean, is there some sort of a, this to not respond and to deal with it in a far more sophisticated fashion outside Twitter, perhaps?
Yes, I mean, as far as the Indian government is concerned, you've seen that we don't really, the government never really retaliates to leaders like President Trump, who's very fond of tweeting everything that his mind is,
what he thinks,
what he thinks and other issues. But yes, the Indian government, they do take all these tweets seriously, and that's how the meetings are planned, and you also get to know what is going on in the mind of the other person and the other leader, which may not come out when you meet face to face, but when you are tweeting something, that is, the agenda is more clear. But yes, for the Indian government, it's never a retaliatory tweets that it'll do. It'll prove by action and more of diplomacy, a backdoor channel talks, and more of visits, and that's how Indian government has always been dealing with US.
Right.
So there's no change in that
strategy. Well, one doesn't know what the President of the United States would tweet tomorrow, so we may need to have another conversation soon, Noyanima. But that was Noyanima decoding what US President Donald Trump's threatening tweet, in fact, about India imposing tariffs on US products means, and how it impacts the already thorny equation between the two countries. Thank you so much for watching Government Matters.